everyone to The Print. I'm Triya Gulati, and today we'll be discussing a film whose release feels timely. Now, before I introduce my guest, I would like to remind our audience that in a first for India, the Supreme Court recently allowed passive euthanasia for Harish Rana, a Ghaziabad resident who has been in a coma since a head injury in 2013. Now, a new film called Mercy explores a similar theme. Joining me today are the film's director and scriptwriter Mitul Patel, along with its lead actor and producer Raj Vasudeva. Raj and Mitul, welcome to the print. A very warm welcome. Thank you for taking out time, in order to speak to us about your project. Mitul, I would want to first start with you. What is the film about, and where did
Okay.
you get inspired from?
Okay, so Mercy is basically about a son faced with the choice of having to pull the plug on his terminally ill mother on the eve of Christmas. Again, it sheds light on the recent case as well. It's very similar in terms of its themes, what it addresses. The idea of it germinated 3.5 years ago when I came across an interview from Mr. Paresh Rawal, actually. There he shared an anecdote about his life where his mother went through something very similar. She was admitted in one of the hospitals in Mumbai, and the dean of that hospital was really close friends with Paresh Rawal. And he had come to him and said, the situation isn't great. You are not extending her life, you are extending her death. Maybe the best thing for her would be pulling the plug on her. And he was like, the person who gave me birth, who am I to take that call on her? So he kept prolonging that decision, and before he could actually take the decision, his mother passed away. So what I took out of the situation was my inspiration. What he took out of the situation was my inspiration for the film, which was, he said something very beautiful. He said, my mother loved me so much that she sacrificed her own life so that I don't have to live the rest of my life in guilt and regret.
Hmm.
Uh, that just shows you how nuanced, complex it is. So it became, it paved way for me to write on the subject, to explore the nuances and the gray area that lies in between, and show all the perspectives I can.
Right. And how did you go about filming this?
Okay, so firstly, initially, it was a short film earlier, and which got later turned into a feature film when I met Raj. He and I both shared the same level of enthusiasm and passion for the subject. So again, in 2023 April we met. It was still a short film then. I took the next 3 4 months finishing it into a feature, and by December we were on floors. Actually, we had started pre-production in October of 2023. December we shot a portion of it, and in January and Feb we finished the film across schedules.
Right.
And yeah, it's been 3.5 years since, so it's been long, I guess,
3.5 years. It took
since
you
the
three.
inception of the idea to now.
Right. And it has won a lot of applause in India and globally, and now it is set to release in theaters. Do you think that a feature film like this, like, how do you think it will be received by the audience? If I talk the commercial aspect of it.
Um, when we set out to make this film, we just wanted to tell the story. We never expected the film to firstly, honestly, have a theatrical release. In today's time, having a theatrical release is a big thing for us, honestly. And since now we are clear that we are releasing the films in theaters, uh, we are honestly cautiously optimistic, because we know that such subjects don't attract mainstream attention a lot. But we hope that the conversation takes place, because the thing is, people choose not to talk about death because it's hard, right? So to making the goal for us to make is to make this conversation easy for people. It's it the Getting the conversation into the mainstream and making it palatable for people to talk about it. So that's the bigger goal. We are still cautiously optimistic, and the film is honestly very commercial in nature. It's meant to entertain you, make you feel something at its core. At the same time, it talks about something very heavy.
Right.
Mm.
Raj, I would like to bring you in this conversation, both as an actually my question for you is in is a two-part question.
Sure, sure.
What convinced you to be part of this project, A, as an actor and also as a producer? Because I think that is that was a bit more riskier job. So what prompted you to come on board both as an actor as well as a producer?
First, thank you for having us. As a producer, so I've been producing advertising commercials for the last 15 years. I've been acting also for a while, but acting kind of took up a back seat. And I wanted to come back into the acting space again. And, I always enjoyed these real human stories, right? Something with more depth in it. And honestly, when I was living in Holland during the COVID time. I came back and I looked for scripts to produce. I got a lot of scripts, right? About 100 short films. Um, this one really appealed to me. First of all, Mitul did not send me the script. It was just the idea, the bare bone he sent, and it just appealed because someone in my immediate family, my wife's family, had actually gone to euthanasia. So they'd done euthanasia, which was active euthanasia. They were terminally ill and they took the decision to basically do euthanasia. So this story just kind of hit on me right there. And I said, listen, this is something that needs to be told. People don't, like what Mitul said, um, people don't talk about it. This Supreme Court judgment, what it's done is basically open the doors for the conversation, at least for people to talk about it. So I think that's why I got on the project. Then it was a short film, like he said, and we made it into a feature. Um, and yeah, that's why I decided to produce it. And of course, act in it as the main protagonist as well, because I really, um, connected with the character of Shekhar. That's the name of the protagonist, and it is a very challenging role to play. Because sometimes you've not faced this in your own life, and to play that and to feel the right emotion, it's hard and it's challenging, and it's rewarding as an actor, I would say. So that's why.
My question
Yeah.
is that now when the film is set to release next month, just days before that Supreme Court
Yeah.
has passed a judgment like this. What is your take? What was your take on the timing of it, and also what is your personal take, both of you, your personal take on the topic?
You want to
So
go first?
honestly, yeah, sure. So honestly, we didn't expect. Obviously, we know that this passive euthanasia and Article 21 is there for a while. Law students study it in the first year of college, right? Uh, but we didn't know this was going to come out at this particular juncture. But funny enough was that we actually have created a docu series, which is we're putting on Instagram now, which is interviewing real people about their stories, right? And not just people who are families who face this kind of situation, but also caregivers, palliative care doctors, right? What do they go through when they have to deal with situations like this? So that's a real docu-series that we've just created. We've aired it now, and it opens conversation. The idea is to create the community with it, right? And I would say,
Right.
in terms of views about this judgment, more than views, I think what it's done is actually given a platform for people to start conversations, on
Hmm.
compassion, on dignity of dying,
Yeah.
which is, I think, wonderful, right? I mean, it's something that every family that goes through it at least has an option to decide or what they want to do. But it's the
Hmm.
main germ of it is about compassion, about hope, and about love. The testament is highest testament of love is caring, and this is what I think this gave, at
And
least in this case.
by any chance, like you said that you are putting out this docu series on your Instagram handles. By any chance, did you also feature anybody from Rana's family in your docu series, or no?
No, because we did it
Not yet.
last month. We shot it last month already. So, we
Okay,
have
Yeah.
about 10 episodes already ready with, like I said, palliative care doctors and some people, the families that have faced this kind of situation.
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mitul,
Uh,
what's your take?
So yeah, in the last few days, I must have received hundreds of DMs about the same case. Again, people making me aware that this has happened. So, in terms of the timing, I don't know. Actually, we were always set to release in April. We've been working on it for the past few months now. We made the docu series. The idea of the docu series germinated in November, December. So we've been working on it. So the timing has definitely clashed. We did not plan for it, but the good part about it is people are more aware about the situation. So now when we talk about it more, the conversation gets more nuanced and deeper, and doesn't just exist on a shallow level. So that's one thing that I'm really happy about. In
Mm-hmm.
the next couple of months, the ecosystem and the society will together can talk about this same issue and go much deeper than what we are talking maybe right now. And in terms of my views, honestly, again, I couldn't agree more with Neeraj.
Mm-hmm.
It is about compassion, about choice, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the film, I wouldn't want to take sides, but I want to show all the sides that there are,
Right.
and uh, it's it's so subjective. It's so each person has a different story. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
taking sides is very shallow on a level. So rather, even the film propagates that each and every situation is different, and compassion and hope are the two principles that
Right.
should lead all the conversation, I feel.
Right. Another thing, like again, this question is for both of you. Do you think cinema has that responsibility to address these morally uncomfortable topics?
So again, this is a quote from Christopher Nolan. I feel, and this topic is so relevant in today's society where people talk about the morality of the
Yeah.
stories you tell. I think personally, to quote Mr. Nolan, uh, it's from a filmmaker's point of view, it's an opportunity and not an obligation. So I like to see it in the same space. It's an opportunity for me to not preach but send a message. But again, films have so many purposes,
Hmm.
stories have so many purposes.
Hmm.
It's not just to give a message, or it's also to entertain. So all kinds of films should be made, but
Mhm.
again, from a personal standpoint, it's I see it as an opportunity to tell layered stories, make people feel something, and yes, send a message that I want to give.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. I totally agree with Mitul. Obviously, this is such a huge platform, for people to
Yeah.
go and watch movies. Like you said, it can be entertaining, it can be filmed with a message, it can be anything. And people do listen, right? If someone wants to get entertained, here I'm getting entertained. But if you want to give a message out in a film, I find those
Mhm.
kind of stories much more relatable because I can relate with that character or this character, and then I like, oh, I can put myself in that shoes, and that's
Hmm.
when it hits and that's when it connects with people. So yeah, it's a
Right.
great platform for telling different kind of stories.
Also, Indian society, I would like, I think it's as compared to others, it's far more emotional. We take things a lot more personally. So again, even though the timing of the film is such, do you think that as a society we are ready to discuss this topic?
I, I mean, look, discussion wise, are you talking about India in specific, or are you talking global? I mean, in India, talking about this subject was a big taboo, right? And I think what this Supreme Court judgment has done is, if you've already seen it, I mean, you've seen it more than us, is the public conversations are happening, right? Whether someone supports it or not is not the question. The question is the support and the conversations have opened up. So hopefully, what I feel, what can change is that that taboo goes away and people start conversing about not just this topic, but any topic in general that is considered taboo. um, yeah, so that's what my opinion is.
So yeah, I agree with Neeraj. I think we are definitely ready. I think so, the Indian society. I think we are very complex people. I think so. We understand the complexities of situation, and this topic honestly has been due to be discussed. In I think so. If this is not the right time, I don't think so there will be a right time. I think so. It's so relevant now. I think so. more and more people, if they talk about it, I definitely think it's something that may generate something in people and make them more aware.
Also, another thing that happens is that when you are dealing with such subjects, your film or your project might come across a little bit preachy. So were there any conscious attempts you made to make sure that the film does not come across as preachy to the audience?
So even while we were writing, we made a very conscious decision that let's make it about a family and the dilemma. It's about a son's struggle and the dynamics within the family. So in that way, it becomes a family drama first, and not uh, we decided not to go too much into the technicalities of the subject, because again, we are again filmmakers, we can go as deep as we can, but the better way to do it is through making people feel something, and it was done through a family drama. So to answer your question, I feel, yeah, we were very sensitive about what we are doing, without making it preachy. How can we make people feel something yet communicate the same message through emotions? That's
Right.
what we
And
tried.
and does it also lean into a bit of dark humor?
No.
No.
I
Okay.
think it the film is slightly on the grimmer side, I would say.
Mhm.
Grimmer, and which has a silver lining by the end. So
Yeah,
again, it
because
is
a
very
lot of
focused
times,
on the subject.
yeah,
Sorry.
because a lot of times while portraying these sensitive issues, usually filmmakers try leaning towards dark humor in order not to be preachy.
Yeah,
Hence,
that's
hence
a
my
very effective way.
yeah.
Uh, we did not do it for our film, honestly. From a writer's point of view, my craft is yet to evolve to a point where I could use that. There's a quote from Phoebe Waller-Bridge where, disarm your audience with humor and then punch them in the gut with
Yeah,
tragedy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I agree with you completely.
Neeraj, was there any particular scene that sort of emotionally charged you up, or that was difficult for you, or that stayed with you even after the film was over? Any particular scene?
Oh, I mean, look, there's. I don't want to give away the scenes, but there are, of course, it's a very
Okay, tell
emotional
me
film.
one.
But
Tell me one.
I would say, um, so there was one scene where I'm supposed to basically walk in and see my mother on the hospital bed, and Mitul and I discussed that scene. Um, he said, don't, maybe don't cry. This is the first time someone has said about your mother something. You kind of have a situation there. So I walked into the room, but um, I honestly don't know how it happened. And the lady who was playing my mother, her face morphed into someone I know and
Oh.
someone from my family, and it's just broke me down just automatically, and I could not control it. And then Mitul came
Mm-hmm.
in running, and he said, "Oh, are you okay? This was probably not what we wanted, but it's come out really nice." And then that lady was lying there, and she kind of grabbed my hand, and I started sobbing again. So it was a bit tough to get out of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Getting in, like I said, this had never happened to me before, so it happened, and to get out of it, it took me a while. So I was like, that
Right.
was a really, emotional and a tough scene to do. But like I
Mm-hmm.
said, it's not about that. It's about also how every single actor in our in our film and the environment that we created, which was really helpful to all the actors, not just me, but to get into that emotional state when needed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because yeah, I mean, acting is it's when you feel the character. You're not acting. When you're actually feeling the emotion, you can see it then in your eyes, in your demeanor. So yeah, that I
And
would say that
Mithul,
was kind of a tough.
yeah, and Mithul, while writing, while doing research, and while speaking to people, was there a moment that emotionally shook you as well?
The first thing that comes to my mind is an incident while we were filming, actually. So there is supposed to be one actor, a secondary actor, who along with a doctor has to take their father on a stretcher from one place to another, and by the end of it she started sobbing. So when I went to her, um, I just really, she told me that her father had passed 15 days ago. So that was the first thing uh, that really shook me. Plus, a lot of people who have been part of this film, they've lost people closer to them. So yeah, to answer to your question, I wrote it very in a very dejected fashion, to be very honest, from a neutral viewpoint, because personally I have not lost someone close so far, finger touchwood.
Mhm.
But a lot of people who have, hearing the stories makes you a lot more sensitive about it. You want to be sensitive, and you want to not. Not maybe hurt anyone's sentiments as well, without compromising on your story and the emotions it
Right.
portrays. So
Also Mitul, when you are dabbling with a subject like this, and when you are putting it out in theaters, what happens is also that people dissect it to the T. They look also
yeah,
at the factual aspect of it. Now I know that, earlier in this conversation you said that we have tried to not lean too much into the technicality of euthanasia, but still, was there any medically or legally, were there any researches you did, any research studies you explored to make sure that whatever you are giving out, it is factually correct?
Yeah.
it is factually correct. Yet, having said that, to answer your question in a different way, Adil, who played one of the lead parts, other lead parts in the film, before we shot his portions, he wanted to have a chat about something that was written, and he wanted to understand what it is, and he very politely made me aware that whatever you put out, you are going to be responsible for it. The world is gonna
Yeah.
not judge, but yeah, see, I'm an actor. I'll just pass through, but the filmmaker needs to take the responsibility. Are you okay to take that? So that
Mhm.
was something that really made me more aware about the entire thing. And at the same time, to answer your question, we again, to keep it factually correct, we have done that,
Mhm.
but we've tried to keep it as technically. We've tried to be away from the technicalities of it as much as
Mhm.
possible, just
Right.
because it may hamper the emotional side of the story. So again, to we've tilted towards one side than the other, honestly, or find a balance. So we are very open about that. It's a
Mhm.
family drama at its core with a similar subject, but
Mhm.
it's factually everything is fine though. Yeah.
Everything is
So
fine.
we
Okay.
we purposely we didn't want to discuss the subject in the film, like you said. Like people will kind of nitpick it. So like
Yeah.
Mitul said,
Yes.
it's just a drama about the choice, the hope, that
Yes.
Mhm.
struggle that the protagonist goes through to make sure that whether or not to make that choice, right? Because people
Mhm.
in this day and age, that's the toughest choice you can ever make. So
Right.
everybody's hoping for a miracle, which sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't happen. So the film is
Right.
just a
And
very simple story about hope, family, and the choices that they have to make.
the morality of the situation is so gripping in itself that we did not need to go into the technicalities of it. The morality of it was the was at the center stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this topic, I think for the first time, if I am, if, how much I can recollect, the first time this topic was discussed in cinema was, I think, in 2010, with when Sanjay Leela Bhansali
Yeah.
Guzarish.
brought us Guzarish. So you think from 2010 to now, not much changed, right? And still, there's a lot of taboo attached to euthanasia. Now, with your film coming in, as a filmmaker, as a producer, Neeraj, being associated with this project, what is your objective, apart from, like, of course it is, if it becomes a commercial success, if people talk about it, it's a battle won already, but still, if I talk about the on ground impact, do you have anything like that in mind?
Um,
So
so we again, I agree with you. cinema can do only so much, and also we can do only so much, but we've tried to do our level best in order, before we release the film, as we spoke about the docu series.
Yeah.
That was our effort to actually tell more stories, as many stories as we can, because in the film we can tell one story, but
Mhm.
through the docu series we've tried to tell so many. And in the on the we and the campaign around it is also such that we are encouraging people to tell or share their own stories. So
Right.
that is an effort on our part. I don't know how the society will be impacted or not. We are very tiny cogs, but we are trying our level best to still raise a
Have the
conversation that
conversation
needs to
around
be.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And at the culmination of the docuseries, we're also planning to have a panel discussion. So at the panel discussion, we want to call some people have faced this kind of situation. So we've tied up with Pallium and Bajaj Capital, for example. So they will bring on their doctors and their people to kind of have the conversations. So the idea is to kind of build that community and like you said, change that remove the taboo. Just let have people have those conversations because there are real human stories out there, to connect to and to feel compassion towards.
And did you revisit Guzarish while writing and shooting this project?
I actually did not. So there were a few films that have been made on the similar subject with the similar underlying stakes of that our film carries as well. So as a writer, it was a dilemma that I had whether or not should I watch it, and I did not want to watch it because that's the only way I wouldn't reference those movies in my craft. Before, if I'm not aware about it, the chances are I would make something more unique. So
Mhm.
that is why I deliberately abstained from watching a lot of it. But after the film, I have revisited a lot, and I myself make comparisons and all. But this was a call that, as a writer, I took this call just because I did not want to reference anything that has already been made.
Right. I'll take one closing remark from both of you. And the question for that is that why should somebody go to theater to watch your film? Because as we have already seen that when a film is dealing with such topics, it fails to pull audience to the theaters. Now, like through our platform, what message you would want to give to the audience? Why should they watch Mercy in theaters?
Do you want to go first?
So look, it is. I would never say it's a grim subject, right? It is a subject about hope. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
about the choices we have to make in life, and these are real things that everybody, not everybody, but majority of the people will face one day or the other, right? Uh, so it's about what to do after it as well. It's not just that decision. What happens to your family because life has to move on. So you have to be able to adapt to all these things. And our film is
Hmm.
just a simple story about that family that goes through this. I would not even call it struggle, this dilemma, and it's
Hmm.
narrated in a very nice way with very beautiful melodious songs as well. So it's not a very grim kind of film,
Hmm.
but yet I would say everybody who watches it will relate to one or the other characters, be it my character, be it my brother's character, my wife, or my mother for that matter, or even the doctor
Hmm.
or the priest, right? So I think they will all take something from it, and they will feel something in their heart that we made a whatever effort we could make a very real film, right? So I'm hoping that the audience will also take something from it and keep it in their hearts. So that's what I think they should come to the theater and watch it.
Right.
Yeah,
Mitul?
I completely agreed. It'll just want to add one thing. I think so. This film has the potential to make people feel something. It has the potential to uh, um, engage people in through uh, through emotions, and it can be a real tearjerker if that's the film that you want to watch. And it is entertaining in a sense that it keeps you engaged throughout. You would, and we leave the audiences with a silver lining for sure. So yeah, we end with hope in the film. Yeah.
So hoping
Okay.
we'll see you in the theaters in April.
Yeah, thank you so much for having this conversation with us, and all the best for your film.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.